Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host Mitch, glad to have you here. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about Commander on a budget. Today's episode is going to be a Commander quick take. On episodes like these, I give you my initial take on a newly spoiled Commander from an upcoming set. I'm going to be talking about a potential direction to take that Commander and possible cards to use for that build. This show and episodes like this one are possible because of viewers like you. So if you're looking for some easy ways to help support the show, make sure you like this episode and share it with friends. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Thank you to everyone who's already purchased our merchandise, it really does help support the channel. Another easy way to support this channel is by using our TCG Player affiliate links. So make sure that you're looking for those links in the description whenever you're buying a deck or just individual cards. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. But before we really jump into this, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. On episodes like these, they are just initial quick takes. This Commander is just as new to me as it is to you. And because of that, I don't have a finalized deck build for this Commander yet. So the direction that I choose to take this Commander today might not be the same one that I do in a deck tech. And because of that, some of the cards I'm going to mention might not be in that deck either. Alright, now that we're on the same page, let's get into it. Today's Commander is on Anje Falkenrath. Sorry, it's a quick take. This Commander just came out and I don't know how to pronounce the name yet. Anyways, she's a 1/3 vampire with haste that costs 1 black-red. She has whenever you discard a card, if it has madness, untap her. So that ability where she can tap and discard a card to draw a card is called rummaging. In most situations, rummaging doesn't provide you any card advantage, but does help replace dead cards. This is an effect that you can use right away, and it's repeatable too. Because if you're discarding cards with madness, you get to do it again. Madness is a keyword ability on spells that allows the player to cast a spell for an alternative cost if the card is discarded. And most of the time, the madness cost is less than the cost of the spell. So essentially, this Commander can allow you to cast spells for cheaper and replace them. So rummaging with this Commander can pretty much provide you card advantage. Now, since this is a quick take and I haven't seen the whole set yet, I'm going to be making some assumptions. I assume that this deck is going to have plenty of madness cards in it. Currently, there aren't too many madness cards out there, and most of them are pretty underwhelming. But even without knowing what other madness cards are going to be out there, this can still be a very effective and synergistic Commander. I can see a deck like this one easily rummaging through a ton of cards and comboing off in one turn. And since this Commander has haste, she can win out of absolutely nowhere. Being able to activate right away and rummage again and again and again is extremely powerful. I have a feeling that this deck is going to seem even more powerful after we see the new madness cards come out. But for now, we're going to work with what we've got. So now it's time to go through some cards to consider for this strategy. Now, madness cards can be pretty underwhelming, but there are definitely some that can be very effective in this deck. You can use a card like Fiery Temper as a pseudo-lightning bolt to take out a target, and then another card like Biting Rain can take out a ton of small creatures. Again, there aren't a ton of madness cards out there just yet, so we're kind of scraping at the bottom of the barrel for some of these. But a card like Big Game Hunter can definitely be pretty effective. It's a 1/1 that has a madness cost of just a black, and when it comes into play, we can destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. It can't be regenerated. So for just 1 mana, we can have a body on the field and take out a pretty big target. And we'll get into this later, but creatures with madness are probably what we really want to focus on with this deck. So I'm definitely hoping they print some very powerful madness cards in this set, but I'm hoping that most of those are creatures. But a madness creature that we have access to right now is Asylum Visitor. It says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and lose 1 life. In the right situations, this can provide us a good amount of card advantage throughout the game. But we also got a new card that was spoiled though with Anje's Ravager. Now it has to attack each combat if able, but we definitely want it to attack. Because when it does, we discard our hand and then draw 3 cards. And keep in mind that for each madness card we discard, we're going to be untapping our Commander again. This lets us rummage again and again, digging for more madness cards. And then there's Call to the Netherworld, which might be a very simple card, but it can be really effective in this deck. It has a madness cost of 0, and it says return target black creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So when you discard this, as long as you have a black creature in your graveyard, you're essentially getting that for free. If that creature has madness, you can then discard them again with your Commander. So even a simple spell like this provides you with some great value in this deck. Now, small incremental value is great, but we want some big explosive turns. Again, as a Commander that leans towards synergy and combo, we really want to make sure that we can go off in one turn and finish off everyone. So a card like Grave Purge can come in huge for this. It says put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library, then draw a card. I alluded to this earlier, but cards like this are the reason that we want as many creatures with madness as we can get. For the most part, it's a lot easier to get creature cards back into your hand or on top of your library than other kinds of cards. So say for example that we have 10 creatures with madness in our graveyard and we cast Grave Purge. We're going to put all of them back on top of our library and then we're going to draw a card. We can rummage with that creature card to draw into another one, then rummage again, and so on and so forth. Now just doing this might seem like we're just spinning our wheels and not really getting anywhere. But we're definitely going to be running some payoffs for drawing and discarding cards, and we'll get to those later. Perhaps an even better card in this deck, though, is Empty the Catacombs. It says each player returns all creature cards from their graveyard to their hand. So let's use that exact same example again, where we have 10 creatures with madness in our graveyard. We're going to get 10 cards back into our hand that we can use to rummage right away. This can help us dig into even more madness cards, and we can keep rummaging again and again and again. Now this can benefit your opponents, but it can definitely hurt some too. If someone's playing a Reanimator deck, they probably don't want creatures back in their hand. Regardless, if this deck is built properly, it's going to benefit us more than our opponents. But a card that definitely only benefits us is Shadow of the Grave. For just 2 mana instant speed, it brings back every single card you discarded that turn. This can be a fantastic form of card advantage that really keeps your engine going. But what's our payoff going to be? Why are we drawing and discarding all these cards? First up, we've got Archfiend of Ifnir, which can help us control the board. It says whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. With this in play, it's going to be very easy for us to wipe our opponent's boards. And on top of that, it has cycling just in case we need to dig for something else. A card we might be digging for is Psychosis Crawler. It says whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. If this deck is set up properly, you're going to be drawing a ton of cards in a single turn. So all you need to do is cast Psychosis Crawler and then your commander can do the rest. A similar card to this is Glinthorn Buccaneer. It has haste and says whenever you discard a card, Glinthorn Buccaneer deals 1 damage to each opponent. And if it's attacking, you can pay 1 and a red to Rummage. Both of these are fantastic ways for us to finish off our opponents. Now with this kind of a deck, there are definitely other ways that we can beat our opponents, but these two are probably the most effective. And because of that, we're probably going to be running some tutors. Tutors can get us a card to keep us going like Shadow of the Grave or one of these finishers. Most good tutors can be pretty expensive. There are definitely tutors out there that we can use that are budget friendly though. But as always with a budget, there are ways to improve on the deck. So now let's look at some potential upgrades to consider. On this channel, to be considered a reasonable upgrade, these cards have to be $10 or less. So although some cards might be perfect for this commander, if they're over $10, they're not going to show up here. One tutor that's probably just out of our budget is Gamble. It says search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, discard a card at random, then shuffle your library. For just 1 mana, that can be a really good deal. So this is definitely a reasonable upgrade for us to consider. We can use a tutor like this to keep us going, or we can use it to finish our opponents off. Now we might discard the card that we tutored for, but that's a chance we're willing to take. And if we discard a Psychosis Crawler or Glinthorn Buccaneer, we can always get it back with another one of our cards. And if we happen to discard something with Madness, we can use that to untap our commander. Overall, it's really hard to beat a 1 mana tutor, even if there is a chance that it doesn't work out. Another card that we can upgrade this deck with is Wheel of Fate. It has to spend 4 for 1 and a red, and says each player discards their hand and then draws 7 cards. So if we draw this early enough, we can cast it and set ourselves up for a big turn later. Discarding our hand and drawing 7 new cards can be just what we need to go off. And if we draw this too late, we can just use our commander to discard it. Again, with our commander's rummaging effect, there really aren't any dead cards in this deck. Again, this is a Rakdos deck, so we're definitely willing to take some chances. But our commander's going to help us mitigate some of those downsides. And because of that, we want to make sure that we can protect our commander. So we're going to be adding in Lightning Greaves. It has equip 0, and it's going to give our commander haste and shroud. Now, haste is unnecessary since our commander already has it, but shroud is very effective. Our commander's our engine, and we want to make sure that we can protect her in any way that we can. I can't wait to see what new Madness cards get spoiled in this upcoming set. Again, as I mentioned before, I'm hoping for a ton of creatures with Madness. With the right new additions, I can see this deck being very explosive. Now that we've looked at the cards to consider, as well as potential upgrades, let's look at some similar commanders. I find that looking at other current commanders can be a great place to get ideas for a new one. The first that is somewhat similar is Niv-Mizzet the Firemind. Now, Niv-Mizzet can tap to just draw a card, and whenever you draw a card, it's going to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So the win condition's essentially built on the commander itself, but you need other ways to untap it. By looking at this commander though, you can potentially find some new ways to benefit from drawing cards. You also might be able to find some untapped synergies in red too. Another commander that you might look to is Arcanus the Omnipotent. Now Arcanus is blue, so those blue cards aren't going to help you. But there are plenty of Arcanus decks out there that really want to function in a similar way. And by that I mean that they want to tap and untap their commander to draw a ton of cards and win in one explosive turn. So even if you can't find any specific cards from this, you can find interesting ways and strategies to go about it. And there may be some similar cards that you can use in red-black. And there might be some artifacts that can cross over too. Another commander you might want to look at is Nekusar the Mindraiser. This is a deck that wants to wheel over and over again. Now this deck wins by your opponent's drawing cards, but there's definitely some crossover. Perhaps it can help you find some wheels in either red or black. And then there's Marikri Barrett. A deck like this is just very effective at untapping its commander. You might want to try to incorporate some of that just in case you're not always discarding Madness cards. And finally, you can look towards Selvala Explorer Returned. Now none of her colors cross over, but she can do something similar. She can produce mana every time she taps, and she can draw everyone a card. Then you can use that mana to cast spells to untap her, and so on and so forth. Again, it's another kind of deck that looks to combo off with its commander tapping and untapping. So although the colors might not cross, it's still worth a look. You might find some ways that these decks go about it, and again, you might find some artifacts. But now I want to know what your thoughts on my quick take are, so why don't you let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't seen my quick take yet on Tulane Teller of Tales, check it out here. And make sure that you're following us on social media for more updates and sneak peeks on future episodes. Links to our social media accounts can be found in the description. Also in the description below is a link to the Commander's Quarters Patreon page, and I just want to say a quick thank you to the patrons who have subscribed so far. There are many benefits to being a patron for the Commander's Quarters, including being able to vote on future commanders for deck techs. There's even a general level tier where you get your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you. I truly couldn't do this without all of your support, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. If you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, check out some of our other episodes on budget deck techs, Quest for Quarters episodes, Commander topics, and Creators Quarters. And with that, I'm out of here. Thanks again, and have a good one.